The shriek of the fire alarm was a physical assault, a high-pitched scream that vibrated through the steel and glass of the Sterling Tower penthouse. But inside the vault, the sound was a dull, muffled thrum, a sinister heartbeat counting down the seconds Isabelle Sterling had left. Smoke, thick and acrid, coiled like a serpent under the impossibly tight seal of the door, stealing the air from her lungs. She pounded a fist against the cold, unyielding metal, the impact jarring her wrist. It was useless. The electronic keypad on the outside was fried, the biometric scanner a dead, glassy eye. Her own fortress, her father's monument to security and paranoia, had become her tomb. Outside, she could hear the chaos, shouted orders, the frantic crackle of radios. And one voice, colder than the steel surrounding her, cut through the panic. The asset protocols are clear. We prioritize the servers on the 45th floor. Ms. Sterling understood the risks of installing a pre-digital relic. Donovan Croft, her COO. He was talking about her as if she were already a line item in a quarterly loss report. The thought sent a spike of pure, cold rage through her, momentarily eclipsing the fear. She was not an asset. She was a daughter, a leader, a woman gasping for breath in a box of her own making. Then, through the cacophony, a different call. A desperate, last-ditch idea from a junior security guard. Get a locksmith. An old-school 1-inch. Samuel Finch smelled of motor oil, rain-soaked pavement, and the cheap, strong coffee that fueled his life. He pushed through the throng of firefighters and panicked executives, his worn denim jacket and scuffed work boots a stark anomaly in the slick, corporate opulence of the penthouse lobby. In his hand, he clutched a battered leather tool roll that had belonged to his grandfather. Donovan Croft, his face a mask of patrician contempt, took one look at Sam and sneered. "This is who you brought. We need a thermal lance, a demolition team, not a handyman." Sam ignored him. His eyes were fixed on the architectural plans unfurled on a makeshift table. His finger traced the outline of the vault. "It's a Matthias Citadel. Model 7. Pre-war." His voice was quiet, a low rumble that commanded attention despite its volume. The fire chief, a man with soot on his face and exhaustion in his eyes, looked at him. "Can you open it?" Sam's gaze was steady. "My grandfather taught me about these. They're not just locks. They're puzzles." He unzipped a small pocket on his jacket and pulled out his wallet, checking the small, folded piece of paper tucked inside. It was a drawing from his 7-year-old daughter, Rosie. A brightly colored bird with wings outstretched, a clumsy heart drawn above it. His good luck charm. His reason. He tucked it safely back and turned to the fire chief. "I need quiet. Absolute quiet. And I need to talk to her." Donovan scoffed. "Talk to her? It's a bank vault, not a therapy session." Sam finally met the COO's gaze, his own eyes as hard and unyielding as the steel he was about to face. "She's running out of air. Fear burns oxygen faster than fire. Now get everyone back." Inside, Isabelle's world had shrunk to the stifling confines of the vault. The emergency light flickered, casting long, dancing shadows across the shelves of priceless artifacts and leather-bound ledgers that chronicled her family's empire. Her legacy. Each item was a weight, a monument to a past she had fought to uphold. Now, they felt like tombstones. She coughed, a ragged, painful rasp that tore at her throat. The smoke was thicker now, a gray shroud blurring the edges of her vision. She slumped against the wall, her cheek pressed to the cool metal, a small comfort in the rising heat. Her father had installed this vault. "It will withstand anything, Isabelle," he had boasted, his voice full of pride. A symbol of our permanence. The irony was a bitter pill. She was dying inside his symbol of permanence. Muffled shouts still bled through the door, a chaotic symphony of futility. But then, a new sound. A tapping. Followed by a voice, calm and low, right against the door. "Miss Sterling. My name is Sam. I'm a locksmith. Can you hear me?" It was the steadiest thing she had heard all night. It cut through the fog of her panic like a lighthouse beam. She pushed herself upright, crawling toward the sound, pressing her ear against the door. The steel was warm now. "Yes," she croaked, her voice a stranger's. "I can hear you." The voice on the other side was a bomb. "Good. Just keep listening to me. We're going to get you out." Sam knelt before the massive circular door, a stethoscope pressed against the cold steel dial. He had cleared the area, his quiet authority overriding Donovan's sputtering protests. "It's a Matthias citadel," he explained to the attentive fire chief. "They were built in Germany before the Second World War." The engineers were paranoid. They knew bombing raids could shift a building's foundation, misaligning the tumblers and locking the mechanism permanently. He pulled a set of gleaming tuning forks from his leather roll. "So they built in a back door. An acoustic override. It's not in any manual. They called it the Geisterschlüssel, the ghost key. It responds to a specific sequence of resonant frequencies that vibrate the internal counterweights, bypassing the primary tumblers entirely." Donovan, lingering at the edge of the cordon, let out a derisive laugh. "Frequencies? Are you going to sing it open? This is insane. He's wasting precious time with fairy tales." Sam didn't even look up. He closed his eyes, his mind's eye picturing the intricate schematics from his grandfather's journals, pages filled with spidery ink and brilliant, obsessive detail. He saw the hidden pins, the counterweighted levers, the secret heart of the machine. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was physics. It was history. And it was Isabelle Sterling's only hope. He chose the first tuning fork, its metal humming with a low C-sharp. He held it near the stethoscope's diaphragm, listening intently to the echo from within the steel. "Miss Sterling. Isabelle. I need you to stay with me." Sam's voice was a steady anchor in the swirling smoke and fear. "I need you to tell me what you see. Is there a maker's plate on the inside of the door?" Isabelle's mind struggled to focus. She blinked, her eyes stinging. She dragged her body closer to the interior handle mechanism, her fingers tracing the metalwork. "Yes," she rasped, her voice barely a whisper. "There's a small, brass plate. An engraving. A bird, an eagle, I think." With a key in its talons, a faint, triumphant sound came from the other side, a soft exhalation. "The eagle of Matthias. Okay. That's good. That's very good." His voice was so close, so real. It felt less like he was on the other side of a foot of steel and more like he was right there with her, a solid presence in the dark. "Are you scared?" she asked, the question slipping out before she could stop it. A moment of silence. Then, "Always. But my daughter, Rosie, she expects me home for breakfast. She doesn't like it when I'm late." The simple, domestic detail was so profoundly human it made Isabelle's throat tighten. Here she was, a titan of industry, trapped with millions in assets, and her rescuer was a man motivated by pancakes and a child's expectations. In that moment, the gulf between their worlds vanished, replaced by a fragile, desperate connection forged through a wall of fire-heated steel. He was no longer just a locksmith. He was Sam. And he was trying to get home to his daughter. The heat intensified, the metal of the vault door growing uncomfortably warm against Sam's hands. A firefighter touched his shoulder. "Chief says you have 5 minutes, maybe less. The ceiling is starting to buckle. We have to pull you out." The words were a death sentence. Suddenly, Donovan Croft was there, shoving past the firefighter, his face slick with sweat and fury. "That's it. It's over. The structure is compromised. We are evacuating this floor now." He grabbed Sam's arm, trying to haul him to his feet. "Leave it. The insurance will cover the vault. We're losing the whole building." Sam's reaction was instantaneous and visceral. He ripped his arm free and shoved Donovan back, a surge of protective rage coursing through him. "A person is not an asset you can write off," he snarled, his voice a low growl that silenced the room. The firefighters flanking him stood their ground, forming a silent wall between Sam and the furious COO. The chief stepped forward, his eyes locking with Sam's. "He's right," the chief said, his voice firm. He nodded at Sam. "You get 3 minutes. Then we all go, with or without her." It was a grim ultimatum, but it was more than nothing. Sam turned back to the vault, his focus absolute. 3 minutes. He had to unravel a 70-year-old puzzle in 180 seconds. He picked up the next tuning fork. "Isabelle, I'm going to make some noise now." "Don't be alarmed," Sam said, his voice urgent but still calm. He held a small, felt-tipped mallet in one hand and a specific tuning fork in the other. He struck it lightly. A pure, resonant note sang in the tense air. He pressed the vibrating fork against the dial, listening through the stethoscope, his head tilted. Ping. Nothing. He chose another fork. Struck it. Pressed it to the dial. Ping. A faint, almost imperceptible click echoed back from the vault's metallic guts. He felt it more than he heard it, a tiny seismic shift in the mechanism. He worked faster now, a strange, frantic musician playing a symphony for an audience of one. Ping. Clink. Ping. Thump. Each note was a question, each response from the lock a clue. Inside, the sounds were otherworldly. Faint, ethereal chimes that seemed to come from the very air around her. Isabelle, slumped near the door, thought she was hallucinating, hearing the music of angels coming to take her. Then she heard it. A sound that was not music. A deep, mechanical, and profoundly final thunk. It vibrated through the floor, up her spine. The sound of release. Outside, Sam threw his entire body weight against the massive, five-spoked wheel handle. It resisted, groaning like a prehistoric beast stirring from a long slumber. He grunted, muscles straining, sweat pouring down his face. Then, with a final, shuddering screech of metal on metal, it gave. The door swung inward, releasing a billow of black smoke and revealing the silhouette of a woman, collapsing on the floor of her gilded prison. Sam didn't hesitate. He plunged into the smoke-filled chamber, his arms finding Isabelle, scooping her up as if she weighed nothing. She was frighteningly light. He carried her out into the organized chaos of the penthouse, past the stunned, slack-jawed face of Donovan Croft, and into the waiting arms of the paramedics. They laid her on a stretcher, an oxygen mask quickly covering her soot-stained face. As they prepared to move her, her hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. Her grip was weak but insistent. Her eyes, wide and startlingly blue against the grime, locked onto his. "Thank you," she whispered, the words muffled by the mask. Her gaze held a universe of terror, relief, and a dawning, profound gratitude. Sam could only nod, his own throat tight with a mixture of adrenaline and exhaustion. He watched them wheel her away, the urgency of the moment sweeping her out of his life as quickly as she had entered it. He felt a strange sense of displacement, an intruder in a world he didn't belong to. He looked down and saw his wallet lying on the floor, knocked loose in the final effort to open the door. He picked it up, his thumb brushing over the worn leather. He opened it and looked at Rosie's drawing of the bird. Its wings were still outstretched, ready for flight. All he could think about was picking her up from the neighbors, the familiar comfort of her small hand in his, and the simple, grounding task of making her toast for a late-night supper. A week later, the bell above the door of Finch & Son, Locks and Keys, chimed. The shop was a small, cluttered haven of history, smelling of brass polish and old paper. Sam looked up from the intricate workings of a 19th-century chest lock and froze. Isabelle Sterling stood there, looking completely out of place in his humble world. She wore a simple gray coat, her hair was pulled back, and the only sign of her status was the quiet confidence with which she held herself. The soot was gone, but a shadow of the ordeal remained in her eyes. "Mr. Finch," she said, her voice clear and strong. She stepped forward and placed a small, elegant envelope on his workbench. "This is for you. For your services. And your courage." He opened it. Inside was a check with enough zeros to make his head spin. It was more money than his father and grandfather had earned in their lifetimes combined. He stared at it for a long moment, then gently pushed the envelope back toward her. "My emergency call-out fee is $300, he said quietly. "Anything more feels wrong. My grandfather taught me how to do this to help people. The skill is the reward." Isabelle looked at him, a slow, unreadable expression dawning on her face. "Donovan Croft has been dismissed," she said. He saw a liability. "You saw a life." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the old tools, the blueprints on the wall. "I'm restructuring my company's archival division. I need someone to protect our history, not just our data. Someone who understands that some things of value can't be digitized. The position is head of legacy security. It's yours, if you want it," she then added, her voice softer, "and I'd also like to buy you dinner. This time, without a 1-ton steel door between us." Months melted into a comfortable new rhythm. Sam's life was no longer a frantic juggle of late-night calls and worrying about the rent. The position at Sterling Corp gave him stability, but more importantly, it gave him purpose, allowing him to use his unique knowledge to preserve history on a grand scale. He still kept his father's shop, opening it on Saturdays, a place to ground himself. This Saturday, Isabelle was with him. The scent of brass polish mingled with the faint, expensive perfume she wore. Rosie sat at a small table Sam had built for her, happily drawing, a collection of old, interesting keys spread out before her like treasures. Sam had his grandfather's journals open on the workbench, the delicate pages filled with elegant script and detailed drawings. He was showing Isabelle the original entry on the Matthias citadel. Her fingers, long and graceful, traced the drawing of the eagle with the key in its talons. "He was a genius," she said, her voice full of awe. "He was a good man," Sam replied, his hand coming to rest over hers on the open page. The contact was simple, warm, and felt more real than any corporate contract. He believed that the best things are built to last, but the most important things are the ones that can be opened. He looked from her eyes to his daughter, who was concentrating fiercely on her art. That's what mattered to him. Kindness. And coming home, Rosie, as if on cue, held up her latest masterpiece. It was a drawing of a man, a woman, and a little girl, their hands linked. They were standing next to a giant, open vault door, and high above them, a brightly colored bird soared into a clear blue sky. A new family, a shared future, the door to everything finally unlocked.